thanks for joining. Mike here from LIGHTWAVE. Just wanted to say hi to everybody out there. Hope everybody's doing good. Today we're going to take some time to go over some different LED devices, kind of do some comparison and point out some different features and specs and whatnot on a variety of LED systems that are out there. As many of you know, you've probably seen LED everywhere, whether you're on Amazon, Google, or professional sites, or whatever the case may be. There's a lot of confusion on which ones are what features, trying to understand what's the value of one system versus the other. So I figured I'd take a few minutes today to go over LED and talk about a few key characteristics on these particular units. And there's a whole bunch more out there. And I'm focusing today on mostly some kind of entry-level professional units, as well as some of the masks that you see online, the kind of the common ones that a lot of people are asking about. And for you professionals, you're looking to bring something to your facility, trying to find the best product possible that you get the most features, or your clients or patients are looking for an LED system for at home, help you give them some guidance on why or why not to use some of those LED devices out there in lieu of you. So I figured I'd just take some time today and just go through some key characteristics. Big thing I'm going to focus on today is the physical layout of each system that I have here in front of me, kind of give you some insight on how it looks and feels. Talk about power output. I have a cool little meter here that'll take readings so you can actually see it. Not me just telling you, but you can see what a piece of software detects and reports. LED count and density, which is really important. Wavelength, which is important, and a few other characteristics. So anyway, it should be a good video, really help inform you. So hang out here for a while. We're going to be here for about a good 20 minutes going through all this, but I think at the end you'll get a good appreciation. So in front of me, you're going to see quite a few LED systems. I put over here, we have a couple different masks, a smaller panel system, a couple other flexible type panel systems, and then I did utilize one of our LIGHTWAVE systems as a comparison. And these kind of fall more or less on a similar plane, as far as price point. Everything on this table is about $1,300 or less, $1,400 or less, especially these units over here. You've probably seen these masks everywhere. They're a couple $100 depending where you go. And then they have even these little shield ones here that are available like CVS and Walmart now. So price point is a big thing. A lot of people come to me and they're like, well, why is this unit $2,000, this one's $500? What's the difference? And that's a good question, but when you start to look into it and dig into the actual equipment, you can see very, very obvious, distinct differences. First and foremost, one that's obvious is like coverage area and how many LEDs. If you have a larger panel, you're usually going to have more LEDs, which cost more, and it's going to raise the price of the equipment. That's not always the case. I've seen large panels that have only a handful of LEDs, so it kind of defeats the purpose. So that's one of the big things, but don't get hung up on price. I think as a professional or even as a high-end consumer at home and you're trying to get something in to use, put the dollars aside for a minute and think about what am I trying to accomplish first and foremost. If I'm a business owner, I need a good tool, something that's going to take me down the road and get good results. If I'm some high-end individual at home who wants a really nice LED system, what am I trying to accomplish? And it's always about results. So, and just with all LED therapy, doesn't matter what system you're using, if the light does not penetrate and it's not absorbed, it's not going to work. And for it to penetrate and be absorbed, it has to be the right color of light, wavelength, red light, infrared, or blue light, depending on what you're trying to accomplish, and the intensity. There are certain intensity thresholds you must meet for the light to penetrate and affect skin or cells at a deeper level. So the studies, and we can put a link up here for some studies. There's a whole bunch of them. You'll see most of them work in the red light 630 nanometer range, near infrared light at about 830 to 880 nanometer range, which is totally acceptable. And then blue light is around 420 is the normal. That's more for your acne side. And then the power outputs you'll see quite often is they talk in milliwatts per centimeter squared, and we're going to talk a lot about that today. And that's really measuring how much power is happening instantly or per second out of a small area of the LED array or panel or whatever you want to call it. So that power is super important because it defines the strength. Just like your peels that you use in office, you have different types and strengths of peels or percentages. LED therapy has a number that corresponds to how strong it is, how much tissue and how deep it potentially could affect that area being treated. So keep that in mind. A 5% peel versus a 30% peel, you understand that. Well, we're going to look at a 5 milliwatt system versus a 40 or 60 milliwatt system and kind of get through that so you understand the benefit there and why it does cost more to make some of those other systems. So over here, on my side over here, we have this basic mask that you may have seen. I think there's even an infomercial with this. It's basically a couple pieces of plastic with a handful of diodes in it. This one has 12 red diodes and 4 infrared diodes. I'll kind of turn around. You can see in there the little circles around the eye protection. So it's a very basic design. I mean, professional-wise, I don't foresee many professionals using this. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense. This is more of an at-home consumer product. You know, when I first took a look at this, I kind of chuckled and laughed, and I said, "I know it is what it is," but it was cheap. You know, and I think that's the selling point. I believe these run right around $15 to $20 per. You know, first off, coverage area is an issue. It doesn't cover 100% of the face, and we'll look at the power output. It was pretty low on there as well. Also, it's battery powered, and I was a little bit disappointed when I went to go use this. It wouldn't work, and the AA batteries that are inside this little module, you should be able to see there, they are all corroded out. So, you know, pretty much right out of the box, this thing wasn't going to work. I mean, I was able to open it up and put some fresh batteries in here and get it to work, but again, anything with a battery, you just got to keep that in mind. It's not that battery-powered systems are terrible, but batteries are susceptible to heat and to corrosion and exploding, essentially, like this one did here. So, you know, at home, maybe that, you know, that's fine. So this one here is limited usage too. So keep that in mind. If for your clients are out there and like, I want to buy this little mask, and it looks like this. There's a few companies making very similar ones. I think Neutrogena has one, LumaMask, and a couple other names. They look very similar. Each time you hit the start button, it counts down. The little screen had 20 when I started, I think it was, or 22. It's at 17 now. So every time I hit this, it goes through a full cycle, and then it shuts off. When you get down to 0, you can't use it anymore. You basically throw this away. So to me, I think that's kind of a big waste of money. As far as I know, there's no way to reload this. It seems kind of pathetic to throw away all this plastic into the trash. It seems very environmentally damaging, not helpful. So I kind of disagree with that. But I'm going to turn this one on later, and we can watch it run when we're taking readings, which I'll turn on right now while we're at it. So this is the mask there. So you can see a handful of little diodes in there, 12 red. There's a couple that aren't running. Those are the infrared. You may be able to pick them up with this camera, maybe not. So it does cover the entire face. So as far as the mask head to toe, but you get no neck region. And honestly, my face is a little big, so my chin's hanging out on this one. There's a little eye protection in there to protect the eyes. And it's kind of like wearing a pair of glasses, glasses with these little arms on there. So again, this one's available all over. Really nothing too special on that one. The next one you see is this mask here, and you've probably seen these everywhere. A lot of celebrities have plugged these. You've seen them on Instagram, Facebook, Google, Amazon, you name it. These are everywhere. They run for about $200, $250 on the low end, for even cheaper I've seen, but decent one. All the way up to $2,000. And honestly, I couldn't see the difference between them. I got a mid-range one here. Somebody traded in, they bought, didn't really like. Ended up buying one of our units, so we gave them a couple $100 to take this in. So this unit here has right around 150 LEDs. It only has red and green, and blue in there, so there's no infrared. Green light really hasn't been clinically proven to do a lot, so I'm not a real big advocate of it. Not that it doesn't work. But red and blue light are good. At least it has those in there. The thing I found with this, I tried using it. It's a little bit heavy, and a little bit rigid. It does contour the face, fairly well. It is definitely made for a larger face, so I think a smaller female may not appreciate this. If you're laying down, the weight on your face, it's kind of pushing on cheekbones, forehead, and whatnot. You may not like that as well. It has pretty good eye cups in here, so these little rubber eye cups that help keep the light out of your eyeballs. The nice thing, this one versus the mask here versus this one is it has the eye cutouts. So technically you could have this on and you could watch TV. I just popped that off. You can watch TV or, even just kind of hang out and not be blinded by the mask itself. So I'm going to turn this one on here. See if I can get this back in there. There we go. This has the red, infrared, and blue light. So it's a simple controller. Unlike the other one, this one is unlimited usage, so from what I can tell, it doesn't look like they limit you to using it once or twice, or whatever the case may be. You can control the colors. You simply hit a button, turn it on. That's the red light, and you can turn the energy up and down. So that's maxed out right there, and I can turn it down there, and you kind of see it go dimmer. and then change the color to green, and then blue. So no real protocols or anything on here. Pretty basic. It's like on off. You know, it doesn't feel like there's much in here. This weighs just like a couple ounces. Pretty cheap, to be honest with you. Wasn't really impressed by it. I mean, if I paid $500 or $1,000 for this, I would be disappointed. You know, maybe 50 bucks. It's not the end of the world. Outside of that, really not a lot of features. Coverage area, like I said, you know, head to toe, or excuse me, not head to toe, but forehead. You know, this one gets my chin a little bit better. I don't know if you can hear me. You know, the side of your face is a little bit missing right there. So not a great coverage area, but not terrible as well. Turn that one off. And then this is a basic panel we picked up because somebody bought this at one of the facilities and they wanted to trade it in after they had it for a short period of time. They realized it just didn't make sense, coverage area, just to use this, you know, on when you're doing treatments on somebody. I mean, it looks cool. Kind of reminds me of like an e-reader, you know, opens up like a book. They did a good job with the design with the plastic. It feels very durable and whatnot. This one's a DLP2. I'm not sure if they have a new version of this or not. They have a bunch of diodes in here. This particular one has 99 LEDs in it. It only has the red and amber. And red is good. Amber is not bad. You can see here, probably see, I don't know if it's blinding in there or if it's on here. You can see the difference in colors. The amber is more of a yellowish tint versus the red light. And I think a handful of them are IR LEDs. It doesn't say it anywhere in the manual or online for sure. But there are some LEDs that are not lighting up on here, so my assumption is that is what they are. The coverage area, you know, basically do almost a full face if you hold it here. Again, you'd have to hold it, not too comfortable when it comes to that. A simple on-off switch that's on the top here. Turn it on, run it as long as you want. I let it run for like 20 minutes. It never did anything, didn't flicker, it didn't turn off or anything. So I think it just runs indefinitely until you're done with the you know, done doing your treatment. And you can just turn it off. It has a nice reflective surface there to help kind of direct the light towards you, which is good. Basic unit, it plugs into the wall. It's got a standard power cord, nothing fancy there. So really easy to use, pretty small profile. You know, this is something like if I was traveling, I guess might make sense, and I'm gonna be, you know, wanting to try to do treatments in a hotel room or something. It doesn't take up a ton of space. So that's another option there. I believe this one, from what I was seeing, they were selling up in the $800 or $900 range. I don't know if they're still there or not. I forgot to do some research today. I apologize on that, but you know, I would imagine that they're probably anywhere from $200 to $400 now, just because of the price of LED systems. It's so competitive, they generally come down. So that's that one there. Again, we're gonna come back and do some power output readings here in a minute. This one is something that we picked up a while back. It's called Photon System. It says FDA on it. These, I don't know if they're FDA. I know the DLP has some FDA clearance on it, but these other ones I don't believe they do, or it's not really clear if they do or don't. I couldn't find the information. So this one has a big old FDA on it. I mean, I would hope they were cleared because that's a big no-no. It's a flexible pad. There's a few flexible pads on the market here. You know, you've probably seen this one is one of the options that's out there. This one here has pretty good coverage area. It's rather large if you compare it to like this DPL. Yeah, DPL. You can see that it's significantly larger, not quite twice as big, but it's, you know, at least, you know, 30–40% larger. This particular unit has right around 450 LEDs in it. It has the red light, amber light, and the blue light in it. So no infrared in this one, as far as I was able to tell. These are a little more sophisticated, so when you step up from these, you jump up to like your flexible pads and true panel systems, you start to get a little bit more features, hopefully higher outputs. That way you can kind of tell what's going on with it. So this has a control box. It's this little round circle guy here. One end plugs into the wall, the other end plugs into the unit, and allows you to control it. Pretty basic design. I wasn't too impressed with it, to be honest with you. You have 3 buttons here that allow you to turn on each wavelength, and then it has 3 preset modes. And it has a timer up and down, so you can increase or decrease the time. So it has like 6 protocols. You know, this is like 1, 1, and 1, where you're getting into 6 different types of treatments or settings that you can utilize for different purposes. So it does have a little bit more than these. From what I understand, this is around $700 if I remember correctly. The going rate on this system new. But I'll just turn it on. I'll turn on some red light here. So that's the red light. I wasn't super impressed with the power output. I was really anticipating seeing something brighter and a little bit more, you know, more robust. Kind of left me kind of like disappointed on that front. The blue light seemed a little bit better. You know, it seemed like they put a little more, a higher quality LED in there, more power. That actually had a little bit better power output on that. And then they do have the amber light as well. Amber light is, there's nothing wrong with it. It's what was used way back in the day when we first started back in 2001. You know, amber, there was GentleWaves and a few other companies that were using a lot of amber light. And red light was still evolving, and it turned out red light was a little more effective, better penetration, better outputs, and you know, amber light kind of phased out and red light took over from there. This one also allows you to do kind of some preset protocols. So there's acne, wrinkles, and pigmentation. So those are preset protocols it has in here that'll run the different wavelengths of light. So this is the acne protocol here, and it says 30 minutes in duration. So I'm assuming it'll count down, go to 0, and turn off. The lights will change colors. It'll do different things. You know, all these units that I've shown you so far are doing monochromatic, which is the industry standard, one wavelength at a time, except for the DPL. It is mixing a little bit of red and amber, but they're pretty close, so it's not like a huge issue. This one I don't see any red coming on. As far as I can tell, they don't seem to mix it. And then we have the wrinkle protocol, where again it brings the red. And this one here has continuous and pulse mode, so if I turn that off, let's go here. So that's their pulse mode, which for me as an engineer, I was pretty disappointed. I was thinking they'd be a little more sophisticated. It's simply a blinky light, not really any value to that. It looks like it's blinking once every half second, so you know, it's a slow hertz. Not sure what the value is of that. Maybe it's just more gimmicky, whatever the case might be. But it does blink, continuous versus pulse mode, and there's continuous on that. So you know, the feel of it, you know, the rubber feels pretty good. It's flexible. You know, seems somewhat durable. This plastic shield that comes in here actually pops out quite easy. I don't know if you can see that. I really, as soon as I started handling it, that kind of popped out, but it goes right back in. You know, to clean it wouldn't be terrible. You'd be careful spraying it with anything or any liquids because it's not sealed up by any means. So you could get moisture inside there, and I think if you were in a humid environment, you might be a little bit concerned about corrosion on the flexible board and the components, the LEDs, resistors, and whatnot in there, because they are susceptible to moisture and corrosion. One thing I found interesting on it, it does have connection points to it looks like the daisy chain multiple panels together. I didn't see that option, you know, online. I was kind of peeking around, seeing about it, but it looks like you can take these, and they have a special connector you can purchase and connect one to the next to the next. So if you wanted to put 2 or 3 of these in a row, maybe to do like a full back or abdomen or something, you could do that. You know, my impression of this, it was a decent attempt with poor execution. I think they had the right idea, just kind of cut some corners. And if they made this thing a lot more powerful and, you know, put infrared in here and gave you a little bit better controls, this might be, you know, something that I would say, you know, would make sense for a professional environment on that. Coverage area, I'll cover the coverage area here in a minute. I forgot, I kind of skipped that. So that's the photons system. It might go in under some different names. I looked online. It looked like I saw 2 or 3 companies selling something very similar to this. The next one here, another flexible pad you've seen on the market. This one and the one right here are very similar in nature. You know, it looks like they're basically making competing designs. One thing I did notice, the photon system did have slightly larger coverage area, not significantly, but a little bit larger, left to right. Top to bottom, it was a little bit smaller, so I think when it balanced out, this one was maybe 10% larger. This particular unit has the red, infrared, and blue light in it. Has 345 LEDs versus 450, so a few more LEDs in here in a slightly larger area versus 345 here. You know, density is something that I'm a big advocate of. You know, when you're doing treatments, you need to cover every square inch, and the challenge I've seen in some of these panels that are heavily dispersed is the light doesn't hit every single area that you need to, especially the closer you get. And I kind of show you that. I'll just turn this one back on. So this one has the blue light on, and you can see on the table here that there's some blue light being broadcasted, and it looks, you know, fairly good. I'm not sure I can see in that lighting. I mean, as far as making a blanket of light. But if you start to get too close to the skin, you start to get pinpoints. So if you see here, hold that up at a little bit angle, everything starts to pinpoint. So you're not getting a lot of coverage in all this area between all the LEDs. And that really defeats the purpose. So, you know, and as you pull it away, you can see, hopefully see, that the light starts to disperse and disperse and disperse. And when I get about this far away, it's a little bit cleaner as far as having full coverage. But if I'm anything closer, you're really doing more of a pinpoint treatment in smaller areas. So keep that in mind when you're looking at systems, is the coverage area and how many LEDs are in it. So this one here, flexible design as well. This one has more of a rigid feel to it. So when you flex it, it stays more in place versus this one, which is more floppy. Reminds me of like a dead fish. Coverage area. Durability, this one again, it lifts out. You can take the plastic out. I'd be a little concerned about that as well. This is something one of our accounts traded in not too long ago, and we just have it here laying around. And then a very similar system as far as how to control it. You got this little hockey puck here. It's got an on-off button, mode, pulse, and start. This one, from what I can tell, only has 3 different settings. You have an acne setting, wrinkle setting, and aches and pain. I did not find a way to turn on just like one color at a time. It seemed like it mixed the colors all the time, which I was a little disappointed in. I really thought it should have that ability. Let me go ahead and turn this on. So for example, we'll go with the aches and pain. We'll go to that mode. Generally use red and infrared for that type of setting. It's pretty much the industry standard. So I'll turn that on. Start. So you see it turns on. It's pretty dim at first. It starts to brighten up. I'm assuming there's infrared running. There's some green LEDs and some that are not actually lit. From what I could tell, they were infrared. But they also have blue light running, so I don't quite understand why you would have blue light running during a pain management treatment. Blue light has nothing to do with pain management, healing, nerves, that kind of stuff. So I was a little bit, kind of questioning that. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But that's what it does. And the other one that it runs is acne. This one here. Get going. Come on. Start. There we go. So it starts off very dim, starts to brighten up. This is red and blue, and you probably see some of the pulsing going on there. I'm not sure how well it kind of looks like a little wavy pulsing. It kind of goes off and on. Pulsing's good, except for the truth about blue light is it's a non-pulsed treatment. So if you look at all the clinical studies, it's continuous wave blue light at a very high output to be truly effective for acne. The wavelengths on this one are like 630 red, like 470 blue, and then the infrared I believe was like 850. Correct me if I'm wrong. I apologize. Try to remember everything off the top of my head. But the 470 blue was an issue for me because if you look at the clinical studies, and not just manufacturer information, but actual clinicals done by peer-reviewed independent labs and universities, you'll see that 420 is the gold standard, and it's an output of about 35 to 50 milliwatts is kind of where you'll see these numbers. Didn't quite see that out of here, and the fact that it's pulsing kind of threw me off on that as well. The other setting they have on this particular device is wrinkles. So this one here should be a red and infrared, primarily red. Again, there's blue light on. Blue light has no value for wrinkles. It's not going to help stimulate cellular activity. It's not going to help with skin tone and tightening. Having blue light on, again, it just seems odd to me. I just don't understand it. It's either just a lack of knowledge or it's just easier to engineer it where everything turns on. I'm not quite sure. Blue light, again, there's not one clinical study I've found out there that says blue light is going to help with wrinkles. But when you turn on wrinkles, blue light turns on. So treatment times on here, from what I was read and seen and tested, was about 30 to 40 minutes per cycle. So duration-wise, it's pretty long. This one was around 20 to 30 minutes. So the times, it seems to be about a 30-minute on most of these other devices. Depending on what you're trying to accomplish, it can be even 40 minutes or more. So just keep that in mind. Time is a factor of power as well. So when you're doing the math, that comes into play. Flip that over. That's really all I got to say about that. Power cord, it plugs into the wall, a little hockey puck. Yeah, that's pretty much it on that. I'll go ahead and turn on this one here. So this is the LIGHTWAVE React 1200 system. I'll turn on some red light. So this one, coverage area is quite large. It's more of a rigid panel, so you have flexible panel, a rigid panel, and mask. So this is a rigid panel with hinges, so it opens and closes rather easily and allows you to make a dome or whatever you're trying to do, face and body, on the treatment. 1200 LEDs in this panel. The coverage area is quite large. LEDs. these more professional grade, higher output. And I was talking about output, how important it is, so we can penetrate, stimulate more cells, and get a change. And how a lot of companies won't give you that information. They won't tell you how many milliwatts per centimeter squared, or true wavelength specifications and whatnot. So I'm going to take some time today, and I'm going to give you that. Every single unit you see here, I'm going to measure. We have a very sophisticated piece of equipment we use to take final validation testing on all of our equipment. So this is going to be the same device that's calibrated by Coherent Laser Medical. Every year they take this thing in, they make sure it's perfect. We're going to run that across the board on all these different units and kind of see what's the output. And the nice thing is, somebody can question it, but we're taking it across the board on all the units in front of you, so that even if the calibration's off 10% or 5%, it doesn't matter, because if something's 100 and something's 10, you subtract 10%, you still know what world we're living in. So, and I don't think this is anything anybody's ever done. I've looked for videos like this. I've seen a few people talk about it and show like a system, but not multiple systems back to back to back all at one time. So the screen over here, you should be able to see that. Melanie, does that show up okay? Can you see that
Yeah.
up there? Okay. That screen will have the power output readings on it that are coming out of this little hockey puck looking guy right here. So this has a little sensor. It reads the light that goes in it and displays it out on the computer there, and we use this again for logging. I have it set right now for red light, so I'm going to focus mostly on red light right now, but we can do also blue light as well as near infrared light with this device. So I'm going to start with this little mask I was talking to you about earlier, this little $20 jobber with 12 hole LEDs. Look out. We're going to turn this on. I've got 16 uses left, and then I got to throw it away. So you can see the red light's on there. I have no settings. I'm just going to put this sensor on one of the diodes the best I can. I can't really see your screen. Let's see if I can see it there. So can you move your screen a little closer? Let's see if I can get it right in there. No, your screen, your computer screen. You can move right there. I just want to. Yeah, no, I can't see yours. So let me get up here and move this over just a little bit so I can see. All right, so we're getting about 3.2 milliwatts per centimeter squared. So that's kind of what I was getting earlier. I was monkeying around with this. I got about 4.2 when I put it in the perfect spot. As you can see, it's going up a little bit. I'm really pushing hard to get this LED into the sensor area just because of the curve of it. So it's pushing maybe around 4 milliwatts per centimeter squared. And then this is the infrared. That's pushing, 4.2. Earlier, I got about 5.3 on the sweet spot. So I spent some time earlier just really trying to give it the best credit as I could possible. So red light, 4.2 milliwatts per centimeter squared. Infrared light is about 5.3. So honestly, pretty low power. The only thing this is good for maybe is like a night light or something. I mean, honestly, don't waste your money. Put that aside. So let's hop onto this mask here. Again, this is a rigid mask, so it doesn't move. It's a little bit hard to take readings off it, so we got to take that into account. But for the most part, we'll see here, red light. I'm going to turn the red light, and this is on its setting 5. As far as I can tell, it doesn't go any higher. Kind of pick a spot I can get on there. This really earlier I got 3 milliwatts on red and 8.3 on blue. See if I can get anywhere close to 3 right now. I really had to work hard at it, which was really disappointing. Once in a while I hit close to 2. There we go. So, like I said, I'll give it that I found 3 milliwatts on red earlier, and we'll go to blue. Blue I got up to 8, which wasn't terrible. I guess it was better. 7.4 down to low 7s. Let's go back up here. 7, 8, almost 8. So I got about 8.3 on the high end. So again, red light was really low, 3 milliwatts. It's like a tenth of what the power output should be to be therapeutic. And blue light was sitting on around 8.3 again. It's significantly low. The green light, if you're curious, that actually had their best output on there. I think I got up to like 8 or something like that when I got the sweet spot. I want to say 6, 5 and some change. Maybe it was only 5. Again, I have no real reason for you to use green light. So. Pretty disappointing in this. The coverage area is decent, as far as density. It has about 1%, 1 LED per centimeter squared. But for the most part, I wouldn't waste $50 on this. So if you're looking at getting one of these, you should know more about it now. I guess it's buyer beware on that. So let's look at this first panel here. Again, this one we talked about. Coverage area on this one is around, let's see, it's 10 by 7 essentially, 10 by 7 when you kind of add up the coverage area on this particular unit. 99 LEDs spread out through there. So let me turn this on. And this one was a little hard to read because they're mixing wavelengths, but I was able to kind of isolate it. I'm going to pick on like this red diode right here. Let's see, I'll get this one right here, probably be best. And see if I can get it. Earlier I was getting on the red side around 15 milliwatts. There we go. So it's right at 15 if I hold it just right. The amber, I'm going to switch over to one of the amber LEDs, like right here. Get a reading on that. I got around 12 milliwatts on that, and 11 and some change. There's going up to 12. And then they have the IR. They mix the red and the IR together is what I was kind of determining. So this particular diode has a red light and an infrared light running simultaneously next to each other. So that gave them a better number. They actually jumped up to 37. I got about 25 to 30 depending on how I put it around. You know, that's a respectable output, but unfortunately that's only a handful of spots on this panel actually have that double LED situation. So, you know, when it comes down to output, and you know, you can see all the little dots here as I put the paper on it. Looks very kind of like some kind of a disco. You know, as you get a little bit further away, they start to blend. I get about 3 inches away, it blends in nice, but the power output about 3 inches away was pretty low. Yeah, you're about 15 at your best. So, I mean, for what it is, not bad, but now you know the output. So if you're thinking about, you know, investing in one of these, you're going to be sitting anywhere from about 15 to maybe 30 or 30 milliwatts or so. You know, doesn't do any pulsing, so it is only continuous wave from what I can tell. There's no other settings. There's nothing for acne. Basic device, but power output is more respectable than those two. So if you're going to go for something for less than, you know, like a couple $100, this is probably out of the three that I have here, the only one I would even consider recommending. Let's look at this first flexible pad here. So this has the red, amber, and the blue light. My outputs earlier were ranging all the way from, see, blue light I got up to 16 milliwatts, but red light I was lucky to get 4 milliwatts. So we'll go ahead and turn it on, see what we get. We'll turn the red light on. Start. And let's see, that's the pulsing. So I'm just going to get the diode, or get a diode in the sensor here. See if I can get it up close to that 4 milliwatts. It was pretty tough. I'll be honest with you. It was like 3.5 was more the average. You know, and it did vary just depending where I go. The one thing I wanted to point out is right now the sensor is picking up some light because it's directly over the LEDs. But if I move it up just ever so slightly in between, you can see it drops to almost nothing. I mean, it's reading almost no light at all. So that's where I'm talking about where density is a big issue on some of these systems, because there's so few LEDs so spread apart that you're not going to cover but maybe 30% of the area you're trying to treat. So you can see the red dots in here on this piece of paper. If you actually touch the skin like some of these companies say you need to, or come close to touching the skin, you have all this room, almost 2 fingers in between each row of LEDs. So what good does that do? So I'm only treating this little area, What about the rest? Do I move it around? Do I rub it around? I mean, what's going on with that? So not really big fan of that. We'll turn the blue light on. So the blue light was a little bit better on its output. I got up to 16 milliwatts, I believe. Let's see if I can get it here, or is that infrared? No, blue light I got up to 16. There's a 13 right now, going up to 14. So, you know, it's still probably a quarter of what it should be as far as being effective in blue light, and I'm not positive on the wavelength. If I remember correctly on the piece of paper that came with this, I think it said it was 450 nanometers, not 470 like this one, but not 420. So it's a little bit closer to the proper range. And then it does have the amber light. This was pretty low. I don't even think I got over 2 milliwatts of power. That's like, honestly, 2 milliwatts would be equivalent to like a 2% peel. It's pretty much non-effective. Yeah, so the amber light on here is kind of useless. They would have been better off just not putting it in and putting in more red or blue light, to be honest with you. So coverage area on this one is 18.5 by 7. Again, it has 450 LEDs, so it has the density of the LEDs is right around 50, 50%, but it doesn't run them all simultaneously, so really it's like a third of that. So the density is really like a 0.2 LEDs per centimeter squared, so it's less than one diode or LED per centimeter squared, which just basically means your coverage area is a little bit it's very deficient as far as having a full coverage area. not impressed. Again, a few $100. You can find these online if that's what you're looking for. So let's go look at this flexible pad here. All right, this one has 345 LEDs. The coverage area is 16 inches by 8 inches, so a total of 825 centimeters square or area. Basically, divide up the LEDs over that. Your density is about 0.4, so less than a half an LED per centimeter squared, which is not too good either. Go ahead and turn this one on. This one's a little hard to read because it always has two wavelengths on at the same time, so I was trying to get isolated colors, but I could not find a way with doing that without kind of monkeying around with it. So I'm going to go ahead and just turn on the red light now. As far as the this is the aches and pain setting here, so it's going to get some blue light residual in there and kind of just tweak the numbers. Try to get it in a sweet spot there. Earlier I was reading right around 9 milliwatts to 11 milliwatts on the red, depending on pulsing and whatnot. So say up to 11. I'll hit 2 right there. See if I can get it back up to that point. Let's see, there's 8, almost 9. That was kind of my norm, and it seemed to fluctuate. I think some of the settings in here and the pulsing that they do kind of throws it off. I'll turn the pulsing off. There it goes. It jumped up a little bit. So the pulsing obviously is going to diminish some of the power because it's an on-off pulse. If it's a percent duty cycle, it's pretty standard with that. So even if I press as hard as I can, it's basically keeping around that 9, almost 10 milliwatts. So pretty low on that, and very similar to the other unit as far as the coverage area goes. You have a lot of little dots, and you have a lot of blanks between there. So for me, that's kind of a not a great thing. As you pull away, it starts to get a little bit cleaner, and you have to be realistically, you got to be a good 2 to 3 inches away to get a better blanket of light, a pure, more higher coverage blanket of light. The closer you get, the more it spots. So not too impressed with that. Go to blue light. Let's turn the blue light on here. Again, they like to fade in on this particular unit, so I'll try to capture a blue light only. So this is the blue light. I believe I got earlier, I got up to 12 milliwatts at some point in time. It really was bouncing all over. Might be the pulsing that they do. I'll turn the pulsing off. See if we get up there. Let's see, we're at 6. I'm having a hard time getting a little bit higher, but I kept monkeying around with it. I was getting a little confused, so I just kept trying and trying. Some spots seem higher than other. But I did get 12 milliwatts earlier, even though I'm only showing about half that right now. So it's pretty low. Again, it's about a quarter of what you would need to be therapeutic when it comes to acne type treatments. And then the last one that was on here was a wrinkle setting. This has red and infrared running as well, so we can get some infrared numbers off this one here. So I might have ran the blue on here and got a higher setting. So the infrared, there's some LEDs. If you see these units, you'll notice some of the LEDs are not running. Generally, those could be an IR situation. I got about 5 milliwatts earlier. I'm almost there right now. Pushing close, yeah. So about 5 milliwatts on the infrared. Infrared is thermal based. It's not a true thermal type treatment because we're using near infrared versus far infrared. So you don't have to have 200 milliwatts, but I would recommend about 20 to 30 milliwatts to really be effective. You do have some photon energy in there. There is some warmth involved. So that I feel nothing with this at all. It's actually almost cold to the touch. So it tells me the infrared is really not that powerful on here. You'll notice like on our unit and some of the other ones I don't have here, but some other units I've tested as well in the past. They had some pretty good infrared settings. So output on this one is pretty low. The red light, we'll call it 11. We'll give them a little roundup situation there and call it 11 milliwatts. Still, if you aren't making 30, 40 milliwatts per centimeter squared, you're really missing out. The treatment times have to be longer because it's all about power over time. If anybody says joules don't matter, or if I have 8 joules, I can make 8 joules out of this thing right here. And this has 2 milliwatts. I just have to wear it for 60 or 70 minutes because it's all about how much power per centimeter squared is happening every second times time equals joules. So that's a way of people getting misled, thinking, well, they said it makes 8 joules. Sure, if you put it on for 3 days, absolutely. I can take my little pen flashlight that from 5 years ago, and I can shine it on your skin for 3 hours, and it might have some therapeutic effect, maybe. So All right, I'm going to kick the LIGHTWAVE on here so you can see this. This is going to be a whole nother ball game. Same one here, and this is the same unit I'm using. Nothing's changed. This thing's plugged in. It's been blinking the whole time, so there's no funny business going on here. Hit start. So as you can see, the meter jumped up pretty significantly. Let me find a top spot. There we go, 60. Look at that. Look at that. Yeah. So generally, every unit goes out here. We say this unit is 45 milliwatts per centimeter squared minimum. We make sure that it meets and exceeds that. We generally are getting in the high 50s, if not 60. So it just depends on a few factors. But these are tested, and we make sure that they are super powerful and super strong. So you can move around here and see it's bouncing. Always up in the upper 40s. You know, like I said, you can find a sweet spot once in a while and it hits 60. Sometimes it's just a matter of that. But the coverage area, you know, again, if you hold it up here, it's pretty darn good. I'm touching right here, and you can barely tell there's dots because the way these LEDs are designed is they disperse almost instantly. So instead of focusing ours and making ours more pointed, we disperse them out intentionally so we get a better pure blanket of light, an overlapping array of light that is just, you know, superior. And obviously, if we bring it off just even a half an inch or an inch, you know, this piece of paper glows clean like it's a nice, you know, solid piece. So big advantage with that. And you can see it is obviously very, very bright with the eyes. Then we can throw the blue light on. Blue light. Oops, wrong way. Blue light. So here's the blue light. Start. And we'll throw it on here. It has 400 blue LEDs in here. Should be getting the 30s, almost up to 40 on a very good spot. So like I said, this is right there. And this is our entry-level unit. Everything we have goes up from here. So if you do a lot of acne treatments, this is a good starting system. I would recommend, you know, going up to our React Pro because it's going to give you some higher outputs. There we go, 34, 35. And it's going to be shorter duration. This one at the top end, average is about 22 minutes or so on this particular unit. So duration, you know, on our acne treatment, if you're doing a red and blue, is going to be 30 minutes, but on average, most of your other treatments are right around 22 minutes or so. So, okay. All right. Let's see. So that's that unit. Do we have any questions? Did anybody post anything? No? Oh, yes. All right. So we had one question earlier before we got cut off. They're asking about our handheld. So we have our Lure Activate handheld. This is a red and blue LED device that we sell for at-home use. Our providers resell. It's battery powered, rechargeable via USB, so you don't have like double A's in there. You're going to get, you know, anywhere from about 40 minutes or so of run time. So generally you can do 2 to 3 days worth of treatments with this unit. Let me turn this off. So this here is I'm going to turn the red light on. We'll go ahead and read the measurement on that. It should get right around 30, 35 milliwatts, which it's getting 37. Okay, good. So this gets very high output. Even for a handheld, a lot of people are like, oh, that handheld over there, you know, it's, you know, $10 cheaper, da-da-da-da-da. Well, we take the power output out, and it has a tenth of the power. It has 5, 8, 10 milliwatts. Well, we're putting 35, you know, even almost 40 out of here. Our blue light is very strong. It's 420 blue, and it's going to push right around the same, if not slightly higher. So you're getting almost 40 milliwatts. For a handheld, this thing is pretty darn good. I got to give us kudos on this one. So I'm not a huge advocate of handhelds. I think the coverage area and just whatnot really don't make a lot of sense. But not everybody can get into the facility. They need something when they're traveling. This blows this away and that other mask, as well as even the DPL, just because it has a little bit more features. So this is for sale on our ABI skincare site, as well as our Lure Beauty Tools website as well. So, you know, if you're looking for something more on the portable side, handheld, resale, whatever it might be, take a look at this one right here. It's a good unit. I think that's it. That's it. All right. I appreciate you all hanging in there. Hopefully we caught you all back after we got that power outage. We'll bring the videos together. Follow us on Facebook, LIGHTWAVE LED Therapy. Call us if you have any questions. LightWaveTherapy.com is the website. Thank you, and see you soon.